From the epic music to the charming art style and even down to the animation, Brawlout is unabashedly a Super Smash Bros. Clone, oriented toward competitive play. Originally released in April of this year on PC, Brawlout makes its way to Nintendo Switch, a platform whose fans are fiending for a Smash-style game. Does Brawlout's happy feet give it long legs, or will its ambition be punished and the game remembered as a knockoff? Brawlout is a fast-paced platform fighter, playable with up to 4 players, where the objective is to knock enemy fighters so far off the stage that they are unable to return to it. Those who are familiar with Smash, and honestly, who isn't, will be able to jump into the fray immediately. While Brawlout lacks the mass appeal of pitting all of Nintendo's most beloved characters against each other, it makes up for it with a solid cast of 6 original fighters, 10 variants of these characters with unique movesets, and 2 heroes from other popular indie games, Drifter from Hyper Light Drifter, and Juan Aguacate from Guacamelee. There's not a bum character in the bunch, all complete with a built-out lore accessible from the main menu. Each fighter is fun to play, and learning practical applications of their movesets is a real joy. Each character controls smoothly and uniquely, but there didn't seem to be a lot of variance in their weights. Petite Saphira was just as hard to knock off stage as big, lumbering Olaf Tyson, which is a little disappointing. Brawlout wants so badly to be the next great competitive fighter and takes great strides to do so. The practice mode, for instance, is fairly robust, letting you toggle on hit and hurtbox visibility. All the stages are designed without hazards, and even then, the game makes a distinction between which stages are competitively balanced. Brawlout swaps a block button for a rage meter, which is an interesting but overall lousy trade. Your rage meter fills up when your fighter takes damage and depletes when you use your special moves. In theory, it adds a layer of depth for those seeking to master Brawlout's mechanics. However, I found its implementation to be unbalanced, as some characters are more reliant on their special moves, meaning their meter may never fill up unless they risk taking massive amounts of damage. And without a true way to block, you are dependent on having enough rage built up to stop an otherwise lethal string of attacks. While the metagame is still developing, I think trading blocks and throws for a poorly implemented rage mechanic is a bum deal that will limit the game's competitive potential. That is not to say that Brawlout isn't worth a chance. Aesthetically, it is one of the best looking indie games I own on Switch. The stylized art direction is perhaps most impressive on the stages themselves. The backgrounds, even though they're mostly rendered in 3D, look like paintings due to the soft gradients, stylized architecture, and artistic use of lighting. The Switch version of the game runs at 1080p and 60 frames per second docked, and 720p and 60 frames per second handheld. I ran into performance issues in both modes, which included a couple of hard crashes. In addition, and most annoyingly, the game sometimes lags by full seconds in offline play. I've ran off the edge to my death multiple times because of this. The developers said this would be addressed in a patch, but several days after launch and I'm still experiencing these interruptions. New to the Switch build is the progression system. All unlocks in the game, from characters to stages to skins and even taunts, are acquired randomly through piñatas. It's a convoluted system that ultimately isn't rewarding. Like a slap in the face, it was particularly underwhelming when, after exploiting the stupid CPU AI to earn currency for hours, the piñata burst open with little fanfare. Like any fighting game, Brawlout is intended to be played indefinitely for hundreds of hours during its lifespan, so in time a player would naturally unlock everything in theory. But letting players see the content and locking it behind a randomized system is a bit degrading. And while I commend the developers for not putting in microtransactions into the game, I'm surprised to admit that I actually would have preferred to spend extra money to buy the locked characters and stages. In fact, one of the reasons why this review took so long to publish is because I didn't want to post it until I had unlocked at least one character. This is certainly not the Smash successor die-hard fans are looking for, but for $20 you can do a lot worse. Despite some frustrating design and technical issues, Brawlout is loads of fun. You can easily lose hours playing with your buddies, which is the most important aspect for games in this genre. It's a game that becomes more enjoyable the more you invest in it. Brawlout ultimately makes some head-scratching decisions that alienate the folks it tries to cater to. Rather than make a competitively rich experience, Brawlout finds its sweet spot in casual play. For most people, no matter how pro they think they are, that is perfectly fine. These aren't all my thoughts on Brawlout. To learn more about the competitive aspects, the Switch-specific features, and the convoluted loot box system, check out my full review on topshelfgaming.net.